This is Aging by the Bay, here to provide families in the San Francisco Bay Area pertinent information about healthy aging practices and services. Your host is Ajay Sani of ComForCare Home Care.
Good morning and welcome everyone to Aging by the Bay, where we provide families in the San Francisco Bay Area relevant information about healthy aging practices and services. I'm your host Ajay Sani from ComForCare Home Care. With ComForCare, you can give your loved one the best life possible, thanks to complete in-home care for every stage of life. Find out more at ComForCare.com or call us at 800-886-4044. At Aging by the Bay, we talk about joys and some of the challenges of growing older in the Bay Area. We talk to experts about what they see happening as people age, as well as the services that are available that you or your loved ones may not be aware of. First of all, I want to thank our sponsor, A Love for Seniors, who specializes in helping seniors find residential care homes, assisted living facilities, and memory care assistance. You can contact them directly at 1-800-850-9102. Their website is www.aloveforseniors.com. And again, their number is 1-800-850-9102. So, Happy New Year to all our listeners. This is the first show of 2020. And I'm really excited to introduce Steve Toll. Steve is the Care Enhancement Specialist for ComForCare Home Care. He manages the Dementiawise program, our proprietary person-centered dementia care training program, and our Joyful Memories program, which uses personalized music to engage with our clients in a connected, meaningful activity of singing together. So, Steve, Happy New Year and welcome to Aging by the Bay.
Happy New Year to you, and I can't believe it, 2020, and here we are, and talking about a very important topic that affects so many people in our society.
Yes, Steve, and one thing I have noticed all along, that education is something that can make things happen in a much easier way. We all have challenges in our lives and we go through different types of struggles. And if we are educated, we can handle the challenges that we face in a much easier way compared to something that we are not aware of. And dementia is one thing where sometimes when it happens, the family or even the person who faces all of a sudden starts feeling that, okay, what will happen now? I'm kind of struggling or whatever. Or the family says, okay, everything is kind of, in deep trouble and everything is like kind of falling apart and all that. That's not the case. It's just that we have so many tools in our lives. And if certain things are not working the way we were doing before, is just we need to get used to, and education helps. It could be sometimes, of course, dementia is at a different level, but it's also like for me, a few years back when I was not using glasses and all of a sudden I had to, it was a change. And it's a simple thing, but keep a pair of glasses in your car, at office, at home or whatever. But once you know what needs to be done, it becomes a lot easier.
That's very true. And, I think change is difficult for anyone, but especially something like dementia. Dementia there's a stigma. Yeah, there's a fear around it. And, people think, oh, my God, that's a death sentence. Now, it is true that there is no cure for dementia, for Alzheimer's disease, specifically and other dementias. But that doesn't mean that you can't have a really wonderful life after a diagnosis. And, there are many people diagnosed with some form of dementia today who go on for many years and they can still do many of the same things. Sure, there are some changes, and as you say, education, so critical, so that we can sort of anticipate some of the changes, and then we can adjust when the changes occur. And that's one of really the cornerstones of a lot of the training that we do with our Dementiawise program at ComForCare, is really being very observant, very aware of those changes as they occur, so that we can adjust our care accordingly to that person's level. So the the standard of care for our Dementiawise program is person-centered.
Mm-hmm.
Person-centered care is customized for that individual. We get to know that person, and we help our caregivers through the training to be able to engage with that person wherever they are in the journey of their disease.
Right. So, Steve, before we jump onto that, how about this, that for the benefit of our listeners out there, maybe we should start with giving an overview first in terms of the early signs, what people should be aware of, because sometimes the family members, they are not even aware of that something of this nature is happening, and they just say, okay, my mom or my dad is just careless or whatever, keep forgetting things and so forth. So how about this, you give a little bit of an overview, different stages?
Sure. And I think one of the important things is to understand what it means when we say dementia. Because really, dementia is an umbrella term. Mm-hmm. Just like if you think of cancer, there are various types of cancer. Well, dementia, there's various types. But dementia refers to a variety of symptoms that include changes in memory, mm-hmm. in language, in problem solving, cognitive thinking, and also there are also physical changes that occur. It's not just forgetfulness. And, it is not a part of normal aging. It is definitely something that is different from regular aging where, you may forget where you put your keys and right. then you find them. Or, you forget someone's name. I mean, these are the kind of things that happen. And look, as we age, we're collecting more and more and more information. And, we want to be able to recall all this information like we did when we were in our 20s, but,
mm-hmm.
We can't do it quite that way anymore. But that's normal. That's normal and a normal part of aging and really nothing to be frightened about. And as when someone gets a diagnosis of a type of dementia, then then there are various changes that they need to be aware of. But in terms of what causes dementia, it's really, if we think about all the different types of dementia, the leading type of dementia, the main one that's diagnosed is Alzheimer's disease.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most common. That's 60 to 80% of people living with dementia are diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Right.
Alzheimer's causes a gradual decline in memory, thinking, and reasoning skills. Mm-hmm. There's no cure for it, but people living with Alzheimer's can really have great lives, especially when we get to know, and I mentioned earlier about person-centered care,
mm-hmm.
how critical that is, because as we get to know that person, who they are, and we have a tool that helps us to learn all about that person's social history and the things they were interested in so that we can then incorporate those favorite things into care. And those types of things really make a major difference as someone goes through the journey of the disease. But as I said, Alzheimer's is really the main type of dementia. And, there are others. And the second most common type is vascular dementia. This is a different type of a disease in the sense that it has to do with not enough blood getting to the brain. Mm-hmm. So it's really more of a circulatory problem that is creating this problem in the brain. And that's another type. And that one also, and I should say too that something like Alzheimer's, in most cases, it occurs when someone is 65 or older, although there is one type of Alzheimer's called a younger onset Alzheimer's, and this has a much faster, rapid progression, and it also has more of a hereditary component than typical Alzheimer's disease.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have vascular dementia, we have another type of dementia called Lewy body dementia, and, these are all different types. And then frontotemporal dementia, that happens to someone really in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, and this tends to be associated with you'll see that someone starts to maybe act out in an odd way, and those are the type of symptoms, where there's maybe excessive drinking or gambling or, spending money, those kinds of things. So that type of dementia. And that's it's a challenging type of dementia to care for. But as I said, all of these, if we have a little bit of education and we understand the basic symptoms of the disease, we can really adjust care. And, many family caregivers can take care of their loved one. And, of course, when they need help, keeping someone in the home, in most cases, most people want to age in place in their homes if possible. And, the other thing is making it possible, making little adjustments, going along, anticipating when things are going to change. Maybe it's a matter of, of a retrofitting of a bathroom or something like that, making some changes that keeps that person where they feel safe. And it all comes down to that feeling of safety.
Yes, Steve. So from the family point of view, what can be the journey? What, starting, we can talk about some of the symptoms. You already mentioned few. So, initially when they observe certain things, what they should be aware of, and then from then on, when it comes to the evaluation phase, getting to terms, and then the plan comes, okay, what do we do now? Some of the things that you mentioned. So let's talk through this journey. And if you want to give a use case, that is also fine. Give an example, whichever way you want to explain that, so that people can visualize that, okay, if these are the things that are happening, probably one way to handle it could be we go on this journey in this particular manner.
Yeah, and and really, I understand what you're saying, and I can tell you through a few cases. But one particular case that comes to my mind is a man by the name of Bud, and Bud was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease when he was maybe just about, I think he was 82 years old. He was diagnosed. And he was in the mild stages of Alzheimer's. Most staging today is done in a 3-step process. That would be mild, moderate, and severe. And of course, within those stages, there's, as the disease progresses, the develop, and we assess and we say, well, now maybe this person has mild Alzheimer's disease and they're able to take care of themselves in the bathroom, for instance. They're able to feed themselves. They're able to engage a little bit socially. They may forget certain things, but generally it's a memory issue and maybe some confusion. So what can we do? We can help them to feel safe, make sure they have all their needs met, and one of the major things that we do is we really have to be aware as caregivers how we're coming off to that person. Are we speaking too rapidly? Are we giving them too many choices? Are we creating some sort of confusion that is creating some confusion for them, and also then this feeling of I'm not safe because I'm confused. I don't know what's going on here. So we need to be really cognizant of how we're coming off. We do that with how we approach someone. We do that with how we speak, how we modulate our voice, the speed that we speak at, and also being able to understand that they may be thinking things or feeling things that maybe don't make a lot of sense to us. But we need to always go with the flow, go with it, and go with them on this journey. It doesn't mean that we have to lie to them about things, but it means that if someone is getting a little bit confused or getting upset, that we find ways to redirect that attention to something that they enjoy, or sometimes something as simple as a smile, or just taking someone's hand and saying it's okay. These kinds of things. Now, as the disease progresses and we notice maybe that the person is having difficulty during sleep. They're not getting sleep. They're confused. They're waking up. Maybe they think they're seeing something or hearing something, and now maybe they're having a little more difficulty with the activities of daily living, personal care, and more difficulty taking care of themselves. So we assess and we say, well, maybe this person now has moved into the middle stage of the disease. And this middle stage is kind of the area that, someone will probably stay in that middle stage for a long time before they get to a severe stage. In a severe stage of Alzheimer's, the person is now unable to really care for themselves, so they need someone to take care of the personal care issues. They may be more confused. They may get agitated. They may have difficulty with food, with eating. So these are that stage is when there's more care that needs to be received from that person. We need to have people who know what they're doing, who understand how to care for someone in that stage. But there's a lot of time in most cases before someone gets there. So if I'm getting back to telling you about Bud. Bud was a man who was diagnosed at 82. He had a short time really before he went into the middle stages. But the one thing that Bud was able to do, and I learned this because I was speaking with his family, and that's where this communication is so critical, that anybody who knows anything about this person, that they're on the care team, they're on his care team. So in Bud's case, there were many people on his care team. These are the people who knew about him, who understood his life. So through a discussion, I learned that Bud was a drummer in a dance band in the 1930s. But the notion was that he could no longer play because he had Alzheimer's disease. And that really wasn't the case. So one day we gave Bud a drum and some drumsticks and played some music with him, and he was able to play along. And that little understanding, that little discovery, brought back so much of a sense of who he was as a younger person, maintained his dignity, really respected him, and that gave him so many more. I believe in knowing him for a number of years, and this is going back a ways, that gave him many more years of staying in that kind of middle stage where he wasn't that communicative, but he was social and engaged through the music that he was doing. So that's really where that kind of an intervention really is so effective. And maybe for someone it's reading a book, it's a favorite book, a favorite movie. They like to cook, whatever it may be that they did. They like to, and many different hobbies that can be done and modified. Art, music, poetry, writing, all kinds of things, knitting, sewing. I mean, it goes on and on, gardening. So really, I think that is really the main thing about what to do. It's really be, in a way, less worried about what stage the person is at and more concerned about ways to engage with that person that they really like, and that, caregivers and people with Alzheimer's, whether it be family or professionals, really can have a good time together. There's no reason why you can't have fun.
So I guess it's just not about giving them good number of years by taking good care, but also quality of life, because it doesn't mean that they cannot have a great time. They can, and we should enable them to really enjoy.
It's totally about quality of life, really, because, we don't have a cure. We don't have a way of doing what we can do for someone with dementia is exactly affecting quality of life. Of course, we want to make sure that their personal care is taken care of, that their clothes are clean, that they have good hygiene, that they're eating a nice diet. all of these things. But even within those things, there can be fun. There can be extra joy in those things. Something like food, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Diet cooking, showing someone an ingredient, going to a farmer's market, seeing the wonderful things that are available to us, that it's incredible, really, variety and everything that we have. It's a beautiful thing. So why not really enhance that joy? Watching food shows on the TV, trying different recipes, like everything that anybody who's a normal person does. You can just keep doing it.
Right. So, Steve, in the interest of time, as we just have about 4 minutes left, so why don't we do this? We wrap up by you highlighting like what we do briefly when it comes to the Dementiawise program. And also, if you want to touch Joyful Memories or anything else that you think will add value and provide information to our listeners, please feel free to give your final comments.
Sure. In our Dementiawise program, as I said, is a person-centered care program. We train all of our caregivers through this program. This program that we've created has been reviewed by the Alzheimer's Association, and it meets all the standards of care. And, we really concentrate on making sure that our caregivers understand the importance of that person-centered engagement with everyone. And that means that they learn who their client is, that they really understand who that person is, and then that there's meaningful activities that are tailored to their tastes. And, and that along with that personalized care and understanding a person, I would recommend the main takeaway for me is write down the things you enjoy, have a conversation with your family, talk about it. What songs do I like? What food do I like? All these things, putting together sort of a little bio report, whatever you want to say, so that if something happens and as you age, that other people know the things that are important to you. And that's one thing about our Joyful Memories program. This is a music program where we customize the music to that particular person's favorites. And singing with someone, singing together really helps to regulate things. It really helps to calm the body. It helps with pain. It helps with so many areas. And the most important thing is socialization. Don't be isolated. Find ways to be social. And, whether it's getting out into the community and doing things or just bringing things into the home and having people over and doing fun things, playing cards, having a dinner together, watching a movie together, whatever it may be. Isolation is the biggest problem, I think, when someone gets a diagnosis. And so we need to do all we can to keep someone social.
This is great, Steve. I want to thank you. This is very useful information, and I'm pretty sure our listeners will appreciate, getting all this very good information. And I guess the takeaway is that don't give up. It's just another stage. Yeah, and we have the positive outlook. We have the right care. They can have a great quality of life.
Absolutely. And it's been my pleasure to be here today. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome, Steve. So, listeners, I want to thank you for joining us today on Aging by the Bay. This show was brought to you by ComForCare and A Love for Seniors. This weekly show provides information that helps our seniors age better. Please visit our sponsor's website, aloveforseniors.com. You can contact them directly at 1-800-850-9102. We hope that you enjoyed this show, and please subscribe to our podcast that is available at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. You can find this show and also previous shows at our website, www.agingbythebay.com. We love your feedback, and so please leave your comments. If you have any question for our featured guests or want to become a featured guest, please contact us by sending an email at info@agingbythebay.com. Again, the email address is info@agingbythebay.com. So a big thank you to our sponsors, A Love for Seniors, and to ComForCare Home Care. This has been an Aging by the Bay show addressing issues on aging and services available for our elderly population. We will be back next Saturday, same time. Until then, take care and be safe.
This has been Aging by the Bay with Ajay Sani, addressing issues on aging and services for the elderly community. Join us again next week for Aging by the Bay.